Bad Batch, then yeah, I think we could move into this most recent episode. And again, with possible twists, man. I don't know. I don't know. I'm still thinking what I told you guys about before. The way I really think Sid. It's too on the nose in the beginning of this episode when they had her, playing back her little hollow net recording and saying if you guys don't come back, it's been 20, 30 cycles, and I've lost out on a lot of scores, which yeah, they've kind of sucked this season at like getting things done. It's almost sad at how bad they have been at completing jobs.
But they don't
But
care.
it seems like Sid is. It's almost like they're setting her up too much to be mustache twirly. Like they're like, oh yeah, don't you remember? Isn't she bad? Isn't she? But I'm still convinced. My theory still stands that Fee is going to be the one that turns on the Bad Batch, and I think it was awful convenient that she was also one of the main characters in this episode. Almost as if to say, you know what, we're going to remind you who this character is, and just you wait, it's a twist.
What a twist! See, the first thing I thought when we heard, Sid's message, that's probably a better way to handle her turning in the Bad Batch and giving their whereabouts. Because instead of her just being, oh, there's a bunch of money, I'll turn him in, she now feels betrayed by them.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you guys better be dead. Because it's been, 30 cycles, and I've lost a lot of money because you guys aren't out here helping me. And even Fee was like, you guys didn't tell me about this. I haven't seen any cracks in what she hasn't had any weird moments where seems like she's gonna turn on him. She seems very up and up. Like the only thing that I questioned
So does
about
Bo
this,
Katan.
I know.
I'm just saying.
I agree. When she was like, oh, we're just collecting art for all of the. Who else do we know who likes to collect art on other species to learn more about them?
Ron.
Thrawn. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And that was the first. I'm like, oh, that seems kind of an odd reference that she's doing this art.
Mm-hmm.
Except to tie her to one of the biggest, villains in his MO in the galaxy.
She
So-
is Thrawn.
It belongs
Yes, I
in a
knew it.
museum, Keith.
But, as I was watching this episode, it was like, oh, hey, well, come to the feast. Hey, Brown Eyes, I'm going to talk to you, and yada, yada, yada. I love the fact when she was like, too, she goes, I think Omega needs to hang out with kids her own age. And Tech's like, well, I don't think that is right. We never had to do that. And I'm thinking, but you guys were like aged up, too.
You
Yeah,
were kids
you were
for like
aged
3 days.
Yeah. I'm like, so of course you don't get it, but Fee's right. She seems to have their best interest at heart, and seeing where she lives and how that society works. Dave sold me that she's on the up and up. So if that twist is the one that she turns them in and she's really been playing them all along, hopefully they give us some breadcrumbs, because the thing, we talk about the end of Game of Thrones a lot, and I know Dave hasn't seen it, but that character, one of the characters in the season finale, or the final season, went against everything they've built up throughout the entire rest of the seasons, and it made no sense. So, if they're going to do that twist with Fee, they better give us some breadcrumbs to run with, so it makes a little more sense, and it's not just a twist for a twist.
It sounds a lot like Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. Totally switched him around after building him up one way for so long.
But a lot had happened by the time we see him in The Last Jedi. There's a lot of history there that we don't.
Don't like it.
He doesn't want to hear it.
Don't want to hear it. It's garbage.
My opinion is right.
Yep. Me and 62% of the people in the world. I don't know the statistics. I can make it.
I was gonna go 62.
But I'm sure it's
90% of statistics are correct.
Yes. It works 60%, 100% of the time, 60% of the time.
And, this whole episode was just kind of almost. I know a lot of people weren't very thrilled with that this episode was just kind of like thinking it's a filler episode, but I think this show went a long way to say, you guys could come live here and have a good life. You don't have to be involved in all of this. And I think that is only setting it up so when Crosshair is going to show up and pull Omega away, or something's going to happen that draws them back into this war. And they're going to realize what they've lost. The ability to have a home where they're welcomed and they're at peace, and that's going to be gone. And I thought this episode...
I think
I thought maybe because of the way this one ended that they were going to do a Rex and Echo episode next year.
That's not a bad idea, because they seem to be doing that a lot, having an episode with like all the Bad Batch and then seeing side episodes with Crosshair. So you could be right. A whole next episode could be Echo and Rex figuring something out, and maybe they're the ones that show up to Pabu and say, listen, you got to come with us. And they're going to be like, damn. Well, it was good while it lasted, but now we're gone. Because what is... The next episode is called Tipping Point. So I think that's a good theory. Rex and Echo find this tipping point and then let them know, and then obviously the season finale is 2 episodes on the 29th where maybe they get fully back into it. I don't know how many are going to make it out alive of season 2, because I don't think anyone's...
I think it was Fatherly Fandom in his video, and I could be wrong. I thought he referred to this episode as The Calm Before the Storm. And in an episode that was about a storm, I think that's it also fits with what I think we're going to see end up coming, because you're right. We do have the storyline with Echo and Rex to deal with them figuring out the way that they can possibly help save other clones, but also fight the Empire. We also have to deal with what the heck is going to happen with Crosshair. He's on Mount Tantus. We also have to figure out, are they sending bounty hunters or somebody after Omega again? Are they going to capture her to get an LSA to work for them? What is going to happen with Astro? There's a lot of things that they do need to wrap up, that they need to kind of, with what you said, there's 2 episodes left?
3 episodes left. There's next week left, and then a 2-episode season finale. So
they've got 3 episodes to try and close off all of these story threads that they've built up. And also, we need to figure out, is Sid going to turn on them?
Unless they leave us with it.
We also have Cody. We don't know what Cody's up to. Are we going to learn anything more about Cody? So there's a lot going on, which either A, they're going to wrap this up too quickly in the next 3 episodes with all that, or we're going to get a season 3 of The Bad Batch, which I hope they announce sooner rather than later.
I hope we do. Because I would love to see the continuing adventures taking place. Like, I know that I've complained in the past about, they need to hurry up and get over this time period, but the Bad Batch is doing a pretty decent job. Shows like The Bad Batch and Andor, they're doing a pretty decent job of helping fill in some of these gaps of what was going on in the early days of the Empire. And it's like, oh, okay, that's actually kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how they ran things, what they did, what was going on. How did they phase out the clones? Where did the stormtroopers come from? Why do they suck at shooting? So yeah, so far it's been pretty interesting. I would love to see a 3rd season, so I do hope it gets renewed.
And I do think that's going to be coming soon, because they got so much going on and they don't have time to really wrap this up nicely. And I see no reason why they wouldn't get a 3rd season. It doesn't cost them much to make. And, the viewership is pretty good on it. So I think it's almost guaranteed we'll be getting a 3rd season coming up.
I'd also love to see more Tales of the Jedi, too.
I do think that's coming, too. Was that your theory, Doug, that we'll see a Luke Skywalker Tales of the Jedi?
I don't think that was me, but that would be cool.
Maybe it was Fatherly Fandom. I can't keep track of these things anymore. But yeah, it would be
I was
great
gonna
to
say,
see.
if that was me, I'd forgotten that I said it.
Other Tales of the Jedi. Focusing on Luke or focusing on Ahsoka. Post Revenge of the Sith,
Mhm.
post Star Wars Rebels, things like that. So there's a lot of stories out there that could be told.
Well, I went back and I was watching the Dooku episodes, and I'm telling you, like I understand more about him now because they were short. They were so short, but it really helps you understand who he is. And boy, I wish we would have, gotten a lot of that. I guess before Attack of the Clones would have been nice
Yeah,
to understand more about this character and where he came from. Like, if we could have even seen him, kind of wandering around the halls of the Jedi Temple and maybe making a comment like, "You should beware, Master Yoda. The Sith are creeping in every corner." And then we see Sidious, or something. I don't know. Just feel like anything to kind of like let us fill us in, like who he was and why he made the decisions he made. And
no,
Tales of the Jedi did a good job of that.
it did.
And that's what I feel like Bad Batch is doing. It's giving us a lot more build-up and a lot more understanding. Again, it's sad that they have to use this and the Mandalorian to try and explain away the sequel movies, but it is still good for the other stuff that it does in letting you know what's going on with the Empire at this time.
I mean, you've already done what's with the Clone Wars. Really patched all that up.
Having to patch up the prequels, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the prequels worth going back to watch with this other information that you have. It's, oh my God, now that makes sense. So now he's trying to piece it together. He's just like, we got a mess, Dave. Can you fix it? He's like, okay, I'll give it a shot.
And just think, at some point, we'll get to the point where it's like, hey, you fixed all of our terrible plot holes from the sequel trilogy. Now you can do your own stuff. Yeah. Yay!
All right, so here's what we're going to have you do. You remember Solo? We're going to have you make Solo 2. Here's the rules. No Ahsoka. Oh. We couldn't get Amelia Clark back. Oh.
Well, I'm putting Omega in there. I don't care. I'm putting Omega in there. She's going to meet Han somehow, and that's how it's going to work.
And yes, Fatherly Fandom, Filoni's back. Must really be hurting from carrying the entire franchise.
Right.
And that's a joke, but man, it's true. Without him,
really
Star Wars would be in a very bad place right now.
I'm telling you, you know what I need to do? I need to commission somebody to. Here's the picture that I envision. We've got Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, and they're sitting with their toy chest of Star Wars toys, and they're pulling out all the best stuff. And like, oh, you remember Boba Fett? I remember Boba Fett. Oh, let's paint his helmet a different color. You remember Yoda? Oh, I remember Yoda. Oh, Yoda, let's make him a baby. It's like they're and then hey, remember Thrawn? Thrawn was cool. Are we allowed to play with Thrawn? Who cares? We're playing with Thrawn.
I used him in Rebels. We can bring him back, guys. Yes, yes.
It's like they're doing that. They're so good at being able to kind of pick and choose. Like, okay, this is cool. We're going to keep that. Okay, this is cool. We're going to keep that. And they're able to build these episodes of these shows and actually like expand the universe and make it better, and also patch up the nonsense, fix the prequels. They're attempting to fix the sequels. That's a lot more work. Jon Favreau, he's got his mop. He's mopping the hallways of Lucasfilms. Like, all right, we will clean this up just a little bit more.
If they ever get to the point where they make Rise of the Skywalker rewatchable, it's like we got to do something special for them. Like send them, something, because that movie is still just utter trash. And if they can make that watchable, they deserve. I don't know.
I don't think they could, though.
No, they couldn't.
There's like so much of that movie is nonsensical And again, we said this. I remember we said this back when we did our review of it, but it was like they were doing a lot of the same things that they're doing in the Mandalorian, but worse. It was like, so like the Mandalorian, he's going on his little side quests, and that's fine because it serves the larger story. Whereas when they had Rey and Finn and Poe going on all of their side quests, it was to move the story along. It's not that it was a pieces of the story. It was because like we don't have a story unless they do these stupid side quests.
I mean, one thing you guys can agree on, at least for the Last Jedi, was the worst part was the Canto Bight stuff, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Like,
That was that was in the last that was the Last Jedi is what it's called.
And it was just like to fill in the rest of the space from the main story because it didn't even feed in when they got done with it. It didn't even feed back into the story. You know.
Yeah, no. I still say
tangents are bad.
I still say to this day, if they were going to do a story like that, where they were going to, first off, don't make it this goofy, stupid scene, and also, I really think it shouldn't have been Rose trying to explain to Finn why all of this is bad. Out of all the people who were on that mission, Finn already knows. Finn knows he was a child soldier. He was abducted. And I still say they could have done that right. It was a dumb scene, but if you're going to do the scene, there was a better way to do it.
The only problem, like, it's okay that they didn't find the thing that solves their problem, but they should have found something to carry over into the next story. It was just absolute filler scenes in a movie.
Yeah.
And that was really my only problem with it, is that didn't advance anything anywhere. And it's okay to fail. We've seen the Bad Batch fail on missions and find other things.
This whole season.
That's the right way to do it.
They find other things, or they find something else that will lead them to something else.
Right.
When you do it, and it's so hollow. It's just like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did have that feeling. There was a lot of it could have been cut out of the movie, and it wouldn't have changed anything really.
Right. Yeah, the only thing it would have changed is the movie's time.
Yeah,
the runtime.
About it. Yeah, no. I will still say that none of those movies were perfect. I'd say the best one out of the bunch was, in my opinion, probably Force Awakens, and even that has it's littered with problems.
Yeah, I agree. Force Awakens is probably the best thing of the sequel.
You would say it's the best of a Bad Batch?
Oh!
That was good. Ooh, what if that was actually Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's secret Easter egg the whole time?
I love it.
The Bad Batch is there to fix the Bad Batch.
You're gonna have to stretch it out. And none of them are alive by the time we get to Rogue One. None of the clones, right?
Well, we don't know that. As far as we know, yes, we don't know.
Well, Dave, it turns out that one of them was in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, holding his helmet, begging for money.
It's still.
It was Rika. Or no, that was Omega. She grew out her facial hair a bit.
It's still before Rogue One, though.
Yeah, I do think. Well, I don't think if I'm still sticking to my theory that the only two from the Bad Batch that'll be around during the original trilogy is going to be Echo and Omega.
Oh, speaking of that,
well, and Rex.
Should we mention Fatherly Fandom's theory?
Yes, we should. If it's okay with you, Fatherly Fandom.
Yeah, we don't want to take away from your show. Give us.
Yeah, definitely. You should. Either way, you should watch his video. It's really good. He does really good breakdowns. But okay, so he gave us the go ahead. All right, so his theory actually is that Echo won't make it to the end. That they're doing an awful lot of time, spending an awful lot of time. I'm sorry. Yeah, Tech. I'm sorry, it's Tech that he says won't make it to the end. I keep confusing Echo and Tech. My bad. But he's convinced that Tech will not make it to the end because they're spending an awful lot of time with him, setting him up and giving him a lot more character development. So there's a good chance that they're doing this because he's going to sacrifice himself in the end. And I think he even suggested that he could sacrifice himself to save Crosshair.
That would be cool. And I do think, I've said on many occasions, it is going to be heartbreaking, the end of the story for every member of the Bad Batch. It's not going to be, ride out into the sunset, like so many other people. It's going to be bad. They're going to, Kanan Jarrus, pretty much, where he saves people. He does the right thing and does it. I think we're going to see Wrecker probably one of the first ones to go. I think Tech is definitely going to. He may sacrifice himself to save Fee.
Well, maybe
that'd
by
be interesting.
The end of the series, but not the season. I mean, how many seasons do you think they'll get? Since this is like the second season and it's going good, I mean, they could go like 5-6 seasons.
They could, but I think the battle at the end of the season, if they go to Mount Tantus and there's an all-out sort of battle, we see another Zillo Beast maybe introduced and just stuff going on, maybe even a Dark Jedi of some kind, because I'm still sticking to my guns that, part of the leading up to Palpatine being able to clone himself is another Force-sensitive clone, which I think we all think Omega, definitely is. I think they're going to try to recreate that, and we're going to see what is the equivalent of the mad Jedi clone Joruus C'baoth from the Timothy Zahn, Thrawn trilogy, the first one with Heir to the Empire and stuff. And I think we're going to see that. If we don't see it in the Bad Batch, we're definitely going to see it in the crossover event with Ahsoka, Din Djarin, and Boba Fett and everybody.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and if you're out there in the chat, click on Doug's link for Fatherly Fandom. He is a wonderful YouTuber, talks a lot of Star Wars, talks Marvel, all the stuff, that the fellow nerds enjoy. So, he's obviously a fellow nerd. We're a fandom.
Fandos.
Fandos, yes.
I like it.
And he is the Fandalorian. The Fandalore.
Fandalore.
Did somebody say absolutely?
No.
I was just taking a drink. But you did now.
Yeah, me too.
Fandos, that's correct.
All right, it's getting late. I don't know if we have anything left to say about the Bad Batch.
Well, I think we said what we needed to say about it. We didn't really talk much about the episode proper.
It was a very exciting episode, so, we probably talked about it more than the runtime.
There was Echo. She had a friend. There was a Storm. Fee talked about liberating art and putting it in her museum, says Wrecker ate a lot of food and he actually got full.
Well, good show.
Yeah. I don't think it was. I guess I'm okay. Like I said this the last time when we came down off of a really big awesome episode. Like, they're not all going to be winners. First off, but second, like, sometimes you do need to. You need to come down that hill, you need to come down from that. So that episode where we had, Crosshair and Mayday and everything like that was such an amazing episode.
Yeah.
And so trying to compare with that was going to be tough no matter which episode they decided to play next.
Yeah, and this was more setting up to, hey, this is what you guys could have, and unfortunately when that's broken, that's going to be, okay, this is not for us. We have other things to do, and it's going to definitely show them that, hey, no rest for the wicked, guys. You guys are, full on this. And don't forget to hit us up at Twitter, leave a comment down below, and we will see you next time on Not Your Status Quo.